Hello students, today we are going to discuss about electric field due to continuous charge distribution. What is continuous charge distribution or discrete charge distribution? So before we go into the topic, let us understand what is continuous and discrete. Let us consider an object. It contains charges. Suppose if you consider a small region inside the object, in this region if there is 5 number of particles, if consider the same region or same area anywhere in the conductor, if the number of charge is 5, then the charge distribution is continuous, because in the small element the number of charges is same anywhere. So if it is same anywhere in the conductor, then we have uniform charge distribution. Suppose if it is not same, then it is a discrete. So discrete means separate. So in this case we are going to discuss about continuous charge distribution. Okay, now let us consider a metal sphere or conducting wire. So conducting wire and metal sphere. In this case we cannot use electric field equation to determine the exact value. So we know the expression for electric field. E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught and Q by R square into R cap. Okay, this is general expression for electric field. In important aspects of Coulomb's law that we have discussed in the last class, in which the 7th aspect is we cannot use this equation for finite sized charge object. It means if the object size is very big compared to the distance, then we cannot consider as a point charge. Okay. Here the conductor and the wire, that we cannot consider as a point charge. In this case, we have to consider the charges uniformly distributed all over the conductor. So that we have to consider as a continuous charge distribution. So in this case, we can determine only the approximate value by using this relation. If we want to find out the exact value, we have to use integration techniques. First, let's see how to find out the approximate value of electric field, and then let us discuss about how to calculate the accurate value of electric field using integration. Let us consider an irregular shaped object. Now I am going to calculate the electric field at the point P. In this case, compared to the distance, the size of the object is very large. So we cannot consider this object as a point charge. So because the size of the object is very big compared to the distance between the object and the point where we are going to measure the electric field. Okay. So in order to get point charge, I am going to consider a small element in this irregular shaped conductor. For example, the first element is delta Q1 and second one is delta Q2 and third one is delta Q3, and similarly we can consider up to delta N, delta Qn. Okay. So what is the electric field due to the charge element delta Q1 at a point P? In this case, this element is very small. So here the distance between the element to the point P is greater than the size of the element. So as the distance is larger, we can consider this element as a point charge. In this case, if you consider a small element in the conductor, this small element is very small compared to the distance between the element and the point P. So that we can consider this element as a point charge. Similarly, you can consider delta Q2 as a point charge and delta Q3 as a point charge. Now we are going to add all the electric field due to these charge elements. First, for example, I am going to write electric field due to delta Q1. E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by, instead of Q we have to use delta Q1. Delta Q1 by R square into R cap. Here the distance is R1P. Similarly, due to the second charge element R2p. Like that we can write. Due to the third element R3p. For the nth element Rnp. Here R is the first element. Delta Q1 is the first element, so that I'm going to use here the distance is R1p. R1p. The unit vector also acts in the same direction. Similarly, we can write for the expression for E2. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught and delta Q2 by R2p square to R2p cap. We can write this expression up to Rn. Same equation. Just we have to change the value of delta Q. Okay. Now I'm going to use the superposition principle. What is the superposition principle? Adding all the finding the electric field at a point P is due to the vector sum of electric field due to the individual charge elements. For example, the E total is equal to E1 plus E2 plus E3 up to En. Here substitute the value of E1. In all the cases, the 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is same, so that I'm going to take it as a common 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and then so delta Q1 by R1p square R1p cap plus delta Q2 by R2p square R2p cap. Similarly, we can write up to nth particle plus delta Qn by Rnp square into Rnp cap. By using summation, we can add all the quantities. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Here I'm going to add all the values. That's why I'm using this symbol summation. And delta Qi by Rip square Rip cap. Here I value, I is equal to 1 to n. If you want to find out the electric field of first charge, here we have to substitute I1p square and delta Q1 by I1p square R1p cap. Similarly, for the second charge, up to we can write n. That's why I'm writing here I is equal to 1 to n. In this case, this electric field is a approximate electric field because I considered charge element. Here the size of the object is very, very big compared to the distance between the object and particle. That's why I consider a small element. So in the expression E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square into R cap, it gives an approximated value. So that we have to use a symbol, approximated symbol. So it's not equal, it's approximately equal to. Approximately. Okay. Then how to evaluate for the continuous charge distribution? Let us assume del Q tending to 0. The del Q is a charge element. Let us assume del Q tending to 0. What is the meaning of del Q tending to 0? It is not mean del Q equals 0. It is approaching 0. Here the del Q value, it is approaching 0. It is not equal to 0. If del Q tending to 0, we can write delta Q equal to dq. Here the symbol dq, we will use it in integration and differentiation. In integration and differentiation, if the value is very small, then the integration calculation will give absolute value answer. So it's very good for a small difference. The integration gives a very good value for small difference. So here the dq, the small amount of charge, for small amount of charge, integration calculation gives a very good result. So instead of using summation, we can use integration. That's why we are using, instead of del q, I'm going to use dq. So the differential calculus, if this value is very large, differential calculus will give very approximate value. Similarly, integration also. So if this value is very, very small, then the integration will give exact value. So that's why I'm assuming the condition del q tending to 0. If del q tending to 0 means the value is becoming very, very small. So that instead of del q, I am going to use dq. So by using integration, I can easily find out the electric field, exact electric field. For example, you can rewrite the expression, that is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Instead of q, I am going to use dq. Instead of del q, I am going to use dq by r square into r cap. Here I am going to integrate. So that's why I am using the symbol integration. So this is a small change. So this is how we have to calculate the exact electric field using integration. For a different object, the charge value will differ. First, let us consider a linear straight conductor, in which I am going to consider the small element dl. First, I am going to find out what is the electric field due to this small element, and then if we apply the limit, then we can calculate the total electric field due to the entire wire. In this case, the charge density of the conductor. Suppose if it is a linear conductor, then the charge density is represented by lambda. The lambda is nothing but charge per unit length. Here, the charge density of the linear conductor is charge per unit length. Charge density lambda, it is represented by lambda. The lambda is equal to charge per unit length. Charge per unit length of the conductor is called linear charge density. Suppose if it is a surface area, if it is a metal sheet, then we have to use charge. In this case, the charge density is sigma. Surface charge density is sigma. Charge per unit area, we have to use charge per unit area. Suppose if it is an irregular shaped object, the small element is, here we have to consider the volume. The small element is dV. So in this case, the charge density is rho. You can write charge per unit volume. Here rho is the charge per unit volume. Here, sigma is equal to charge per unit area. And here lambda is the linear charge density. It is equal to charge per unit length. First, in the case of linear conductor, I am going to find the electric field. Here, I have considered only the small element dl, so that we can rewrite this expression. Lambda is equal to, if the length is dl, the charge inside the length also will be dq. So I am going to write dq by dl. So from this equation we can write dq, where dq equal to lambda into dl. So in this equation, general expression for electric field, we have to use, instead of dq, we have to use lambda dl. That's all. Here, the unit of linear charge density is coulomb per meter, or coulomb meter to the power minus 1. In this case, the unit is coulomb per meter square. Here, the unit is coulomb per meter cube, or coulomb meter to the power minus 3. Okay. So now we know the value dq is equal to lambda L. Let us substitute this dq value in the integration of dq by r square. So instead of dq, we have to substitute lambda dl. So we can write the expression E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integral of dq. Instead of dq, I am going to write lambda dl divided by r square into r cap. So this expression gives a total electric field by using integration techniques. This gives an accurate value. Similarly, we can determine electric field for surface charge density and volume charge density. So next, for surface charge density, the equation will become E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integral of dq by r square. In this case, dq is equal sigma dA. Sigma dA by r square into r cap. Okay, sigma is a constant. We can take it out. Here also we can take the lambda outside the integration. Sigma is a constant, so we have to take it out of the integration. So sigma by 4 pi epsilon naught and dA, integral of dA r square into r cap. So we can easily determine the electric field using integration techniques for surface charge density. Similarly, we can determine the electric field for volume charge density. So E vector equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integral of, instead of dq, we have to use dq is equal to rho into dv. So we can write, instead of dq, I'm going to write rho dv by r square into r cap. Here we can take the rho out of integration because rho is a constant. So E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, here rho by 4 pi epsilon naught, and integral of dv by r square into r cap. So this expression gives the electric field for volume charge density. So integration techniques, it gives a accurate value of electric field. It is used to determine accurate value of electric field for finite sized charged object. But the summation techniques, it is used to give an accurate value for discrete charges depending upon the shape of the material. If it is linear, we have to use linear charge density. If it is surface area, we have to use surface charge density. If the object has a volume, then we have to use volume density. So depending upon the charge density, we can determine the electric field using these integration techniques. Okay students, let's see the remaining in the next slide.